girl training to be a whiskey distiller in Scotland. Welcome to the Distilled Kitchen, where we're making British dishes and cocktails, because every good dish deserves a good drink. It's getting colder and darker outside, which means it's time for something warm and comforting to get us through this dreary weather. Today we're making Cullen Skink, which is a milk-based Scottish soup made of smoked haddock, onions, and potatoes. This soup is a local specialty from the town of Cullen in the northeast coast of Scotland. This dish gets its first name from the town, Cullen. Skink, on the other hand, is an old Scots word for shin or knuckle of beef, something which was often used as the base for soups. The story goes that since the residents of Cullen were very poor, they replaced the shin of beef with smoked haddock instead, but kept the name of the dish the same. So let's get cooking. First, I'll take one brown onion and cut the end and top off. Then I'll cut it in half and make lengthwise cuts down, making sure not to cut all the way through the onion. I'll cut it down crosswise and then cut it down like so. It's all perfectly minced. This onion will add sweetness to our soup, and so now I'll just put it aside while we prepare our other ingredients. Now I'll cut the bottom and top off one leek. If you don't happen to have a leek, you can just use another onion in place of it. Cut the leek into 4-inch long pieces and then cut each of those pieces in half lengthwise. I'm flipping through a piece of my leek to see if there is any sand or dirt hiding inside the layers. In North America, you'll usually find that leeks are sandy and dirty inside and will need to be rinsed out. But all the leeks I've purchased here have been super clean inside, so I'll just go ahead and finish slicing them up into smaller pieces. Then I'll peel 2 floury potatoes and cube them into 1/2-inch pieces. When you're cutting things up, the first step is always to create a flat surface so the item isn't rolling all over the place and increasing the chance of you cutting yourself. That's why for things like onions and potatoes, it just makes sense to cut them in half first. I'll cut out a nice knob of butter, and here I have my 2 pieces of smoked haddock. Most cookbooks will say to use smoked haddock that is undyed, since it doesn't have coloring agents and chemicals added to it, like the colored one does. I couldn't find any at the store this time, so I'm forced to use this colored smoked haddock, but any kind of smoked white fish will work in this recipe. I'll also prepare the garnish for my Cullen Skink by cutting off a few sprigs of parsley and chopping it up roughly. We'll add in our knob of butter to a pot. Once it's melted, we'll add in our chopped onion and leek. After 3 to 4 minutes, when it's translucent but not brown, we'll add in a pinch of salt and our cubed potatoes. Then we'll add in 400 milliliters of water and let it come to a gentle boil. Then turn down the heat and simmer for 15 minutes. In a second pot, add 400 milliliters of milk and the 2 pieces of smoked haddock. We'll let that come to a gentle simmer until the haddock can be broken into pieces with a spoon. Make sure to watch this pot carefully, as milk has a tendency to foam up and boil over. Our soup has been simmering for 15 minutes, and we'll check to see if the potatoes are soft by doing a chopstick test. The chopstick went in easily, so now we'll add in the smoked haddock and milk mixture. The haddock has already been gently broken up into pieces, so I'll stir to combine and let it come to a simmer again, 5 minutes, and add in 150 milliliters of double cream for extra richness and sweetness. You can use heavy cream if you're in North America. If you like a thicker soup, you can use the back of your spoon to mash some of the potatoes against the side of the pot, and that will help thicken your soup up. Now, time for our drink. I always think of citrus as being the best friend of fish. The flavors just go together so well. Since we didn't have an acidic element in our soup, we'll have to make a sour drink to go with it instead. We're making a White Lady cocktail to go with our Cullen Skink. This British cocktail was invented through the combined effort of several bartenders. The acidity of this cocktail is refreshing and a good palate cleanser for all that fishiness in our soup. We'll prepare our garnish by peeling a nice long strip of lemon peel. Then I'll take a paring knife and cut out thinner strips from our grated peel, and twist those bits around my finger to give it a little bit of shape. Then I'll cut the lemon in half and juice it. I'll make the simple syrup by mixing 100 grams of caster sugar with 100 milliliters of hot water. I'll stir the mixture with a spoon until all the sugar has dissolved. You can hear when the sugar is completely dissolved, as it will no longer make a scraping sound at the bottom of the bowl. In a shaker, I'll fill it half full with ice cubes and add 45 milliliters of gin, 15 milliliters of Cointreau, 30 milliliters of lemon juice, and 15 milliliters of our simple syrup that we prepared earlier. We're using the reverse dry shake method, which starts with us shaking our cocktail ingredients over ice first. Then, after shaking, we strain out the drink and discard the ice and do a dry shake, i.e. a shake without ice. We're using this method because we have a special ingredient in our White Lady, an egg white. Many bartenders argue that the reverse dry shake method yields a better foam with the egg white, as the foam is built after the wet shake rather than before. When we pour our cocktail out, we get this nice frothy meringue on top of our cocktail, which we'll garnish with 2 of our lemon strips. The Cullen Skink is a milk-based soup, and I like this because it feels like I can eat more of it, whereas in something like a clam chowder that's cream-based, I can only have a small bowl before I start to feel full and heavy. The White Lady is bright and light with a sweet and tart finish from the lemon. The frothy meringue on top just gives it that something extra. Well, it's time for me to have my tea now, so don't forget to subscribe below and I'll see you next time.